Ronald Reagan did say she was the best man in England, so I suppose it is appropriate to her. We couldn't really let the show go by, I suppose, without making some mention to the fact that former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's death was announced yesterday, as you know. And as you would have told from the opening of the show, that Ken Loach, well, the quote that's going around from Ken Loach on social media anyway, is that he said, let's privatise our funeral, put it out to competitive tender and accept the cheapest bid. It's what you would have wanted. Now, of course, we're not making fun of someone who's just died. It is always a tragedy, and there is a loss when somebody dies, regardless of what we think of them. There is somebody out there who loved them and they were attached to them, so we're not making light of someone who's just recently passed away. However, it should be noted that as per the policies that she implemented, a number of people did suffer, not just in the UK, also in Ireland, in Argentina, and as she was a good friend of General Pinochet's as well, a number of people in Chile and all the other nationalities that were associated with that. Campaigns that were led from the UK by American forces on Libya as well, Iraq. I mean, the list is endless. There are tributes from all over the world. I mean, Obama even went as far as saying that she was one of the great champions of freedom and liberty and a true friend to the US. Well, a true friend to the US, I would say, all right, but a champion of freedom and liberty, well, I suppose it depends what you mean by those. Supporters of creditor with this breaking this stranglehold that the trade union movement had on the UK. And of course, you'll remember that the miners' strike was the last stand, I suppose, or the greatest stand of the trade union movement against the Thatcherite movement. I mean, it was effectively a civil war. It's one of my, up there with the Iran-Iraq wars, one of my first memories of current events outside of Ireland. And there's still, as you can tell from the media reports in the UK, still a huge amount of bitterness towards Margaret Thatcher from that time in particular. Geoffrey Archer said that was actually a sign of how great a leader she was, that she was divisive. Well, it kind of runs contrary to what most other people would see as a great leader. And Ulster Unionist MP John Taylor paid tribute to her, as well as how she stood up to Europe type thing, except the thing is the UK are actually still in Europe and they're still bound by a number of European agreements, so I'm not really sure what that means, is standing up to Europe. So as I said, the miners' strike was still is in people's memories in England, in the north of England, so much so that the secretary of the chairperson of the Durham Miners Association, David Hopper, said on TV yesterday, said that on her death that it was a great day. So he says for the union, this could not have come soon enough, and I'm pleased that I've outlived her, is what he said about her. Also, more closer to home, I suppose, people will have known her for her involvement, quote unquote, in Northern Ireland, and in particular the hunger strikes in 1981. And as a result of that, there were a number of celebrations held all over Belfast and Derry upon the news of her death. Of course, the hunger strikers had 5 demands: the right not to wear a uniform, to wear a prison uniform, right not to do prison work, freedom of association, right to one visit, full restoration of remission, and so on and so forth. These were their 5 demands, and of course at the time I remember thinking that they got nothing from their protests at all, but indeed the hunger strikers got all 5 of their demands, the last one being granted in 1983, although of course, as usual, there was no official recognition of this by the British government. So that's just our short tribute, quote unquote, to Margaret Thatcher on her death, and on of the tributes that paid into her yesterday, as well as the celebrations on the word of her death as well. That was all over the media yesterday. Okay, so we're on to our next topic, which is in relation to Pope Francis, or Father, or indeed Archbishop, or Cardinal Bergoglio as he was called when he was in Argentina. So it's been in the news quite a lot since he was elected to that position. People have said a lot of different things about him. They said that Cardinal Bergoglio, he was a champion of the poor. Some people hope that he'll bring great change to the Catholic Church. And of course, there have been accusations made about his time as head of the Jesuit order in Argentina when the military junta of Videla and Viola were in power. It's been alleged that he had an involvement in the kidnapping of 2 Jesuit priests. Since that time, an article appeared in the Irish Independent by David Quinn, where he said that a contact of his had contacted Amnesty International Argentina and said that the Pope had no case to answer, according to that article. So there's a number of different things about it. He said that John Allen, the well-known Vatican correspondent, said that Amnesty International Argentina says the Pope has no case to answer. So I decided to follow up a little bit on that, and indeed the allegations weren't just around last month. There's more allegations, or indeed insinuations, I should say, in last Saturday's Irish Times, where a Jesuit priest, I think Father Campbell Johnson, has said that he met Father Bergoglio, as he was then, in 1977 in Argentina, and he said that some Jesuit social institutes were forced to act underground, but our institute in Buenos Aires was able to function freely, but it never criticised or opposed the government regime. He said that letters were submitted to the Vatican about 400 Argentinian women who lost children or their relatives, but the Vatican begged the Vatican to intercede, yet nothing really came of it. Anyway, so I decided to contact Amnesty International Argentina. I spoke to Mariela Bielski yesterday, and on Skype. It's a reasonably good quality for Skype. So this is what Mariela had to say yesterday. Bielski, you're the Executive Director at Amnesty International Argentina. And as you know, some weeks ago, your fellow countryman was elected as the new Pope, Pope Francis, or Archbishop Bergoglio, as he was known. In the media in recent weeks, there have been allegations about his connections with the military junta in the 70s in Argentina. What's Amnesty International Argentina's position on that?
Well, we cannot assure that he was involved in. We cannot assure the accusations are right. In fact, what we really know, the only thing what we know is that he was called as a witness of some of the cases, but the cases were not closed, and the Argentina justice did not accuse him for being part or involved or whatever within those cases that are related to the military period. So we cannot assure those accusations. Okay.
So we can't say that he was involved in the disappearance of the 2 Jesuit priests, Orlando and Francisco Julius. We don't know that he was involved.
No, and we as Amnesty, you know that Amnesty International does not take any sides. Exactly, any sides about things that the justice system did not investigate, or we don't have like a final decisions in those cases. He was just called as a witness, and that's it. This is what we know. Okay. The thing, okay, no, go ahead you, because...
Okay, no, that's fine, that's good. There was an article written in one of the Irish papers by a man called David Quinn, and he said that according to a man named John Allen, who is a well-known Vatican correspondent, he said that Amnesty International in Argentina said that the Pope has no case to answer. Would you agree with that? So, in other words, John Allen has reportedly said that there's absolutely no guilt on the side of Pope Francis in relation to any disappearance of any priests.
Exactly. Yes, it's true.
That's absolutely true, is it?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, all right. So from your side now, I understand you're speaking on the part of Amnesty International Argentina. Why are people making these accusations about the Pope if there is no truth behind them?
Well, I don't have an answer on that from Amnesty International, honestly. We don't have that answer. I don't know why people are doing this. What we can really affirm is that during the tragedy that Argentina suffered during 1976 and 1983, that was the military period, Amnesty International has worked during those years looking through justice and reconciliations. And what we really research and we denounce thousands of cases relating to cases of torture and children kidnapping, and we have done a lot of campaign under those cases. And of course, what we really affirm is that the church was, we know that the church was accused to be. There were some people that denounced that the church was the one who gave some of the people to the military. So we know that the church was involved. But the thing is that we cannot generalize this.
So from Amnesty International Argentina's point of view, there is some evidence to say that the church was involved with some of the wrongdoing of the military junta, but there is no evidence to say that Archbishop Bergoglio was involved.
Exactly. In fact, we know the very famous case of that guy, that Christian, Christian von Bernit, which was like a priest of the police of the province of Buenos Aires.
He was involved in 42 kidnappings.
Yes.
Okay. And there's evidence to link him to the involvement in that?
Yes. In fact, there is a link of the BBC News that talks about it. And what we, as Amnesty, we all the time affirm is that we have not to forget that the Catholic Church, not only in Argentina but also in the region, they were more opposite to another part of the Catholic Church was really oppositor to these regimes. Yes, and part of the church as well suffered torture and they were kidnapping. What I was trying to say to you is that was part of the church who was involved and part of the church who was against. And they were tortured as well.
Fantastic, and thanks a million to Mariela Bielski, the Executive Director of Amnesty International Argentina. Appreciate her time for that.